Good morning, everybody. Let me just finally adjust this to where I want. There we go. Nope. There we are. This morning's little vlog is going to be, I'm going to try to focus on what I was reading because while Jerry was at her appointment doing her scans and whatnot, I was reading from the Norse mythology book that I was gifted, one of the authors I was looking for. And I tell you what, granted, I only read 45 minutes worth of material and got through the intro and the first chapter. And I might not seem like it now, but let me just tell you, when I was reading it, I was getting a combination of goosebumps and just excitement because the gentleman who wrote this book is I don't know if I would call him a professor or just a really strong, enthusiastic Norse mythology person. I don't even remember if I read if he was a professor or just an author. But what I do remember was the fact that ever since he was a kid, he was interested in Norse mythology, and he was reading all the different comic books that was put out by Stan Lee and company on Thor, the Thor comic books. And then when he got older and listening to stories from I think he said his grandfather, but, getting the real deal from various sources, whether it was actual books or people who were raised with the Norse mythology. But he got his information from everything from like the Eddas and the poetry and various other sources that spoke directly about the Norse people, and not just comic books or kids nowadays would get it from the movies. But he had me going. I mean, he had me lit up. I mean, I was excited. I was surprised by some of the information he had in there. I'm hoping that in the back of the book will be some of his source material, so I can get my hands on it myself. Don't think I'll ever write a book, but he did. I mean, so far, between the intro and the very first chapter was who are the Norse people, or was it the Norse people, or who were the whoops. Yeah. Oh, no, I did more than... Let's see here. I read the intro. I read the part about Norse mythology. Oh, no, that was just the title. The chapter called The Players, which talks about Odin and Thor and Loki, the three main characters throughout Norse mythology. And he literally puts light behind who they really are, or what their characteristics are, compared to the Marvel universe, compared to most people's thinking of who Loki really was. And I did not, according to this, Loki was actually Odin's blood brother. And I just kind of went, what? I always thought Thor and Loki were brothers of one form or another, but it's saying that, according to his information, Loki was Odin's blood brother. And I'm like, blown away about that. Hopefully they get into more detail about that, because it was just kind of like, hey, but what? Then the next chapter that I'm going to be reading, hopefully later on today. Excuse my sniffling, my nose is a little stuffed up. But the next chapter is called Before the Beginning and After. So I guess he's going to talk about how Asgard was created and how the different gods came about, and maybe even talk about a little bit on Ragnarok. I know he's got a towards the back of the book, according to the the chapter section. He's got a section in there called Ragnarok. But I had to put the book down for two different reasons. One reason was Jay was done with her MRIs or scans, whatever you want to call it, and that's right. I'm just thumbing through this real quick to see if they've got a section. Oh, they've got a couple pages for clip notes. It's glossary. But I put it down because Jay was done with her scans, and that in effect, I was like, my mind was already blown, and I'm like, I don't know how much more information I can take before I start bouncing off the walls, because this is like a whole new light on Norse mythology. But he was talking about the Oedipus, which I think I've got a copy of it over in my stuff. Let me just see if I can scan it. Yeah, the Poes Edda, which is supposed to be another book that deals with the actual history of the Norse people, written down by I think it was a monk. I can't remember who wrote the Poes, or not the Poes, but the Eddas, because the Eddas are supposed to be actual history translated from Old English or Old Norse to modern day language. But I'm hoping he mentions what his sources are. I might have to thumb through the beginning parts again to see if he has anything in the beginning part of his intro to write those down so I can find them. Because I know I've got the Poes Edda. There's several different types of Eddas. And then there's just the poetry. I've also got the Habanal, which is basically the words from Odin, similar to our modern day NIV Bibles. They're supposed to be, the NIV is supposed to be inspired by God, written by man. The Habanals, I think, is supposed to be written directly from Odin, who was, according to what I've already read in many sources, is he would appear among people as just an old man with a hat and staff, and either speak with the people and give them words of wisdom or words to live by. So, but I want to finish reading that because I've only read a couple pages worth. And then, of course, I've got the Viking handbook and Who Were the Vikings, and the Vikings, several different books entitled Vikings or The Vikings. They're all supposed to give various bits of insight into who the Vikings were. But the way this book is already reading, I might not have to read any of those other books except for the Eddas and the poetry and the different other books. But I was starting to lose. I was lost for words when I read just the intro in the first chapter, and I was just kind of like, yeah, I'm gonna have to, being where I was at the time reading it, I might have to reread it and pull out a notebook and start writing notes, because the world as we know it now has more of a romantic aspect or look at the Norse people, or not the Norse people, but the Norse gods. And no, what I'm reading right now, it just sounds more feasible. Because, I mean, the Marvel Universe made Odin look like a nice, friendly type guy, when Odin had a mean streak. I mean, what I read about Odin from this book is just like he gave his eye for knowledge. He hung from Yggdrasil, the world tree, to gain the knowledge of magic through rune stones. Um, he did a lot of hardcore stuff that you would be like, how can Odin be the father that everybody thinks he is? Because he spent most of his time amongst the humans, amongst men, to not only see the world through their eyes, or how it is for them. Thor was more of a party boy than the romantic, handsome-looking thing that Marvel put him out to be. He basically liked to drink and party and get into fights. Loki wasn't. Loki was just a cunning trickster who liked to try to outsmart the other gods, and he would get the other guys into situations that were difficult for them, and he had to be the one to come and pull them out of the fire, because he was the one who started it, so he knew all the ins and outs of what was going on. You know, it makes it puts a different light on what we think the gods might look like or be like. You know, it just kind of made me go, ooh, well, this sounds more to what I thought they would be like, because I mean, I already knew the story about Odin and giving up an eye for knowledge, and I already knew that Odin was not exactly the friendly, happy-go-lucky type person. Even though they did try to show what Odin was like before Thor came around. Now, the one thing I was hoping is they'd give more detail on the other gods, like Hela, Freya, Phrygia. I could try, if I was waking up, I'd give you a whole list of different guys that I would have been like, can we get more information on Tyr, Heimdall, Freya, Phrygia, the twins. Their names sounded almost the same. I think it was, I don't know if it was Freya and Frey, or what. Their names were almost identical, but it was male and female. You know, just like Greek mythology, Norse mythology, which we know a little bit more about, there was a god. There was a god in the Norse belief system or mythology for just about everything. God, the huntress, the god of the hunt. I can't remember the Norse name, but was it Freya or Phrygia? That was a goddess of love, just like the Greeks or the Romans had Aphrodite. Yes, I know that name, mostly from watching the old TV series Hercules, with Kevin Sorbo. But I can't remember who sent me this book, but I thank them a lot, because it's like literally, out of all the books I've gotten for Norse mythology or anything like that, this one has gotten my whole, I'm just like, wigging out and getting goosebumps and just chills, and it's more up my alley than some of these other books, because it's giving more detail than most of the other books I have are more about the life of the Norsemen and their career as Vikings than the mythology of their life and religion and that kind of thing. So I'm like, this is the book. I've been waiting for this book for I don't know how long, and now I've got it, and I'm like, leave me alone, I want to read, type thing. In fact, I should be doing that instead of playing solitaire on my tablet. I should be reading that book. Of course, if I read that book instead of playing solitaire on my tablet, I don't know what time I'd even fall asleep, let alone I probably would have the book finished within less than a week, 5 days maybe. Because I am literally eating this book up. And the thing is it's not that big of a book, but I have a feeling by the time I'm done with that book, I'm going to be wanting more. And I'm going to use his book for where to go next, what to read next. Whether it's the Eddas or some other book that might be hard to find, because granted, he did write this. The first publication was back in 2016. Sorry, I'm changing my little calendar thingy. And, I really like this book. I mean, really like this book. Anyhow, I made a video yesterday evening to put up, but by the time I got done with the video and whatnot, doing the video, doing the cooking, taking care of Jerry, it was basically after 8 p.m. and I'm usually in bed by 8 p.m. And I decided not to put the video up, so that video might go up before this one. I don't know. Excuse me. Oh. But I'm just going to go ahead and give it a quick recap, just so you can, depending on which one I put up, you can get the information. Jerry's scans were very good. I don't know if she's put that video up or not, but we went Thursday to get her scans and all the things that they needed her to do for Thursday, which took, pretty much the whole day, 11:30 to almost 5. Oh, we got home after 5, close to 5:30. So we got the scans on Thursday. She did the scans on Thursday, and Thursday night, about 10 till 11 thereabouts, she woke me up. And I was like, why are you waking me up? What do you need? Because I was already asleep. And she goes, got the results back, and I was like, oh, okay. What were they? Of course, I'm half asleep, half awake when she's trying to tell me this, but I heard it. And I had to reconfirm it when I woke up, because I was like, did you wake me up to tell me about your knee, your bone scans, or what was it, a nuclear, I don't know if she said nuclear bone scan or some sort of nuclear scan, because I remember she had to drink this bottle of white liquid that looked like water to me, but I guess it was some sort of barium or something to help light up her body, because it was like, drink this, come back at 3:30, and we'll do a scan. So by the time she got to that point where she drank that stuff, it was 1:30. So we went out, we grabbed a bite to eat. Yeah, we got some Arby's, and we went to our Lions Club park and just sat in the park to enjoy our meal and listen to the wilderness. And some of the kids, some families were there to have fun. No big deal. I mean, it wasn't disturbing. It was quite tranquil. And we talked about, what ifs. What if it comes out negative? And I went, if it comes out negative, we will take it one day at a time like we currently are. And she goes, well, what if it comes out positive? I said, well, if it comes out positive, yay, I'm going to want to go paint the town red. And we talked about, if it comes out positive, and then we go to the doctor in April to talk about her leg and seeing if she can walk or what they want to do or anything like that. And maybe during the summertime we'll go down, if I'm not working, we'll go down to Texas for however long we can afford to or think we can stay. Of course, we did talk about, hey, if we had an RV, whether it's a rental or anything like that, we can go down there, stay in the stay at a RV park, and have somebody, have our friends in Texas come and pick us up to travel around the Houston area. Possibly go visit people up north, or go. Well, we definitely want to go to Ohio to do our annual visit with family and friends in Ohio. So it's kind of one of those like juggling acts. Well, come Friday morning, late Thursday night, she wakes me up to tell me that she got the results. Now, anybody who's watched Jerry Ann's video, she's put up the video that she said she wanted to make about her results. You might already know what I'm about to say. She wakes me up to tell me that, according to the current preliminary examination of the X-rays, or the scans, whatever you want to call them, it's positive. The tumors around her kidney are shrinking. The various spots within her bones are shrinking, and the bones already look like they're starting to recalcify, which basically means when the tumor leaves the bone, unless the bone has been eaten away, like on her femur, those spots will just recalcify and become hard bone again. So basically, she's on the up and up. She's mending. The cancer is deteriorating. I don't know if they're if they're changing her stage, whatever, to a lower stage. I know it's currently, last time I read any of her files, they were still calling it stage 4. But I'm hoping after this particular examination, they might lower it down to a stage 3 or something like that. I don't know. I'm not familiar with how that works. But all in all, to put it simply, it's still there, but it's not as threatening as it was last month, or even whenever things started changing, because it's been a year since she had the bone scan. The last bone scan she had was right before her operation. But this new one shows, according to the report we got through her portal, to My Mercy portal, she's getting better. Last night and this morning, she's had some complaints about her tongue, feeling, just not feeling right. But when you look at, when she showed me her tongue, the areas in her tongue that was affected, which was along the side and on the top of the tongue, it doesn't have that white look to it, but it's definitely still a bright red. So she was telling me how the mouthwash and cough drops weren't working, and I said, well, that's probably because whatever is left to deal with your tongue is internal, and all you have to do is continue what the doctor is telling you to do, is take these medicines, do your normal routine, and just detox, because they took her off the chemo pill, because they're thinking a lot of her issues with her back and her sores on her leg still not healing properly, and all the different little things that she's been having problems with are a side effect of the Cabometyx. Her pill, the nuclear pill, whatever you want to call it, the chemo pill. There we go. I lost my words there for a second. So she's doing better, except for, minor aches and pains in the tongue. I told her it's probably going to take a while, but it looks like her tongue looks like it's already on the mends. Um, her shoulder thing is looking like it's starting to dissipate. Um, Even though we still do change her leg band-aids, all the band-aids, all the wound care that I can do at home, at least twice a day, once in the morning, once in the afternoon. Or I kind of told her we should do it as needed, but just make sure that it's, if any of the band-aids show or any of the gauze pads show any signs of bleeding or anything like that, they definitely need to be changed. I told her that she should probably, except for maybe her back, but her leg, the 3 band-aids on her leg should be removed midday and just let it air out unless it's open or bleeding. If it's not an open wound or bleeding or anything like that, to keep it covered, change the band-aid as needed. But I'm not a professional. I'm just, going by what I remember doctors telling me when I had a pretty bad cut. A deep, wide cut that the doctors basically, I literally thought I went down to the bone and needed stitches, but the doctor said, no, you don't really need stitches. You need to put, they gave me a, what was it? Almost like not Benadryl, Neosporin type medication. And they said, just put this over the cut and wrap it in a gauze pad and tape the gauze pad to your finger. And they said, if it looks like in like 2 or 3 days, if it's still bleeding, actively bleeding and saturating the gauze in blood, that they would take a look at it. But I was like, 4 days later, I think it was. No, not 4 days. A week or so later, they had me come back and looked at it and said, okay, it looks like it stopped. It looks like it's healing. So what we're going to do is, instead of using gauze and whatnot, we're going to ask you to just put these butterfly band-aids and, butterfly to stretch your skin together. I'm like, okay, but that was way back in my 20s when I was, what was I doing back in my 20s? Security work. And I guess one of the places that I had to go check out had a piece of metal that nobody warned me about. That's what I cut my finger on, was a piece of metal. And that was my biggest concern, is getting, really sick or having, major issues because of the possibility of contaminants on a piece of metal that was not taken care of by the company that I worked for, or the company that I was hired to keep under guard. But no, Jerry's doing better. It's an uphill battle still. Until she can flush all the chemicals and whatnot out of her body, it's gonna be she's gonna have good days, she's gonna have bad days. But I tell you what, ever since she woke me up Thursday night, Friday morning, however you want to put it, I've been pretty happy. I've been, less stressed, less, anxious, however you want to put it. Mom's back is well, it still gives her some problems, but she's like Jerry. She has her good days and she has her bad days. So everybody is I don't want to say they're cured or they're healthy as can be, but everybody here, their health is on the up. It's getting better. We're gonna get some weather they said Sunday, Monday, but now they're saying today and tomorrow we're getting chances of thunderstorms and rain, and luckily nothing like freezing rain or anything like that, just rain and thunder and lightning, which is why my joints are hurting, because normally my joints don't hurt unless something's on the prowl, rolling in, however you want to put it. So I have some morning running around to do. I have a grocery pickup, which is just certain necessities. Wind must be blowing my sign outside, flapping on the part of the door. But other than having to run to Walmart for a grocery pickup for some necessities, it looks like it's going to be a good day. Oh, I got to pull something out for dinner. I got to figure out what I'm making for dinner and pull that out. But I'm glad everything's happening the way it is. There's always a reason for what happens around. But I've got a few, one, two, three, at least 3 different boxes to put in the back of the van to take to Goodwill. Yes, I'm still going through my stuff and giving away the stuff that I know I don't need anymore. Jerry said if she felt good that she wants to go back into her craft room and work in the craft room. She's actually thinking about setting up the camera to do what she wants to do in the craft room today live. And I was like, oh, that's up to you, but you got to realize that if you want me to work, I can't sit there and look at the comments. I have to do what needs to be done. So I don't know what she's going to do. I was thinking about going live later on this evening, but if she's going to go live to do her craft room, then I probably won't go live. But that all depends on how she feels and if she feels like doing it. I don't know. I just do what I need to do or do what I'm asked to do, and no fuss, no muss. Nobody gets into an argument. Nobody gets frustrated. It's that kind of thing. But if she does not feel like doing her craft room, I will probably be either A, working in here, or B, trying to keep our bedroom as clean as possible, because as she heals, and the cleaner the room is, the better it is. But as she heals, she might feel like doing some minor things in the bedroom, hanging up pictures or something like that. I don't know. I just have to be there and at the ready. But what was the other thing I wanted to talk about? She got a letter yesterday from Social Security basically denying her request, which I'm like, okay, this is getting ridiculous. So we have to send that paper to our person in New York so they can see it and jump all over Social Security, because we're getting the runaround. I, for one, I'm not too worried about it, because of the fact I still got my job. I'm still making money. Our bills are basically caught up, and we're on top of that, so we're not behind or delinquent or anything like that. My biggest thing is, like, come on, people. I mean, if the person that was supposed to come back to the house on a day when everybody was home, they never did. They never did. So I don't know what that was all about. So I don't know what the issue is, other than the fact that maybe we make too much money between my job and YouTube, which I find that to be a pile of. I don't see why that's an issue. We don't have enough money to get a home health aid person. So I don't know what the letter was. Just Jerry saying, "Oh yeah, Social Security, we got denied." Denied for what? Income, home health aid, what? So I'm at that point where I'm just about ready to not really give up on them, but it's one of the many things that irritates me about this country. I don't know of any country that does not have a plan or a system to help somebody in Jerry's condition. This country's idea of helping those in Jerry's condition is to throw them under the bus or send them to a hospice. Most hospice systems will not take a person that has not been given a terminal 6 months to live situation. But I think it's the state of Missouri that's all twisted up and backwards and effed up. That's why I'm like, let's move north. Let's move to Minnesota. What other states do I know that take care of people like Jerry? Minnesota, Texas. I don't want to live in Texas, so it's desert. It's not all desert, but it's just too hot or humid for me. I didn't promise anybody anything, but I told myself a long time ago when I moved out of Arizona back in the 90s, I will never live in a climate that's going to be over 100 degrees, let alone over 80. Granted, there are some places like Minnesota, Wisconsin, Montana, Wyoming, states like that, Washington, which I've got family in, Oregon, I think I've got family in. Yeah, they can reach up in the 80s and 90s, and sometimes in the triple digits. But the thing is, the last time I was in a location that was reaching almost 100 degrees, which was Yellowstone region of Montana, or just Yellowstone, which is mostly in Wyoming. I didn't realize it was 100 degrees because of the mountain breezes. The mountain breeze kept everything cool. So you might have been 100, 105, but you didn't know it until you looked at the thermostat and went, "Oh, really? It's 100 degrees. It don't feel like 100 degrees. Feels like nice weather for shorts and t-shirts, but not stay indoors with the air conditioner blowing on your face type situation." But this country's care plan for those who need the care, it's either, you're jumping through a bunch of hoops that you don't really need to be jumped through because your body can't handle it, let alone your mind. But, I mean, here in the state of Missouri, I can tell you this much because I've spoken to enough veterans and whatnot. The veterans here in Missouri have it really bad. Because it's either you're living in a veteran home or you're struggling to pay for your life, basically pay for your doctor's visits, or the out-of-pocket cost basically is just, why do our veterans have to pay that much? They literally, if they survived intact, they literally risk their lives for the American people on a daily basis, or they did when they were in the services on a daily basis. In some cases, especially the veterans that are still alive from the World War II Vietnam era, they're still alive from the World War II era, I would be like, this man is over 100 years old and needs to be cared for. Not shoved in an old folks' home or a veterans' home or anything like that. But most Americans nowadays, turn a blind eye to the veterans, and I'm like, no, 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 no. You do not turn a blind eye to a person who was in the service to protect you, to have the freedoms that you have. No. My mom is considered a veteran because of my father. My mom got a certificate from Nancy Reagan when my father got out of the military, just like my father got a certificate from signed by Ronald Reagan, or from the government representing Ronald Reagan, for services rendered. I don't care if you're a direct service member, a spouse of a service member, or somebody who was a civilian but still worked for the United States service in one capacity or another here in the States. Those kind of people deserve not only our respect, but deserve everything that they need from us, because they practically gave up their freedom and their life to serve us. And what I mean by they gave up their freedom is the fact that they were on call, and they did 8, 9, 10, 12-hour shifts to make sure America was protected from foreign and domestic assault. I give them my respect. I never got to serve like my father did. I barely made it through basic training because of a bone issue. What do they call it? Shin splints? Something like that. But I tried. I made it through at least a month's worth of training before my medical issues started cropping up on me. I know what these people go through just for basic training alone. And not easy. But just to think that those who made it through basic training and had to go to who knows what part of the world, because that's what they were assigned to do, and that's what the government wanted them to do, or that's what their platoon was doing. Men and women who are in the service, whether it's any branch except for maybe Coast Guard, I don't really consider them part of the service, but they do help protect our country. But Air Force, Navy, Marines, Army personnel, they can be shipped off to any part of the world and not see family members for months to years. I know when we were in Germany, we didn't have contact with our family except my aunts and uncles and cousins here in the States, except for postcards during the holidays. We were in Germany 3 years. The military personnel around us were our family while we were in Germany. And we did have a small handful of German natives who became friends. There are, Navy personnel. They get shipped out on a boat for 6 months or more. They don't get to see their family for that long. I got lucky because my dad was able to bring me and mom along to Germany because it wasn't considered a hot zone. But Army or Marine personnel who are sent to hot zones, their family does not get to go with them. They're either stuck here in the States with families, or they get, like, I've heard about a couple of families that the service member had to go to Iraq or someplace like that, and the closest they can be were like Innsbruck, Turkey, or Frankfurt, Germany, Stuttgart, Germany, Ramstein, places like that. It's It's a hard life. I'm 50 years old, and I can remember I was always the new kid on the block. Every 3 years, I was the new kid on the block until Dad retired from the Air Force. And even then, for a couple of years living in Arizona, it was this part of Arizona, then that part of Arizona, then Mesa, Arizona, then Paradise Valley after he passed away. You know, I got used to being the new kid. I got used to being picked on and whatnot because I was the new kid. And even when we came back from Germany, you know, going back to school here in the States, one of my classmates was an ignorant idiot who thought Germans were Nazis. No. No, 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 no. No. Germans won't even accept that. But to call my family Nazis when we're American, both my parents were born in America. Dad's from Chicago, mom's from here in Missouri. And yeah, I was born overseas, but not in Germany. I was born over in the Philippine Islands. So it showed me how ignorant Americans can be. And I'm just like, you know what? Being back in the States from 84 to today, I've seen how this country has literally nosedived into the bowels of hell. And people see people going, oh yeah, we're going to hell in a handbasket. I'm like, we've already passed hell. We're going into Hades, and then we're going into Helheim. I'm sorry, it's not that I don't like my country, I just don't like the direction we've gone. You know? Yes, I've said it multiple times. If I have the money, the skill, and the linguistics for moving back to Germany, or even just moving to Britain, yeah, I would go. I would go, not just because of the fact that there are places I wanted to live or have lived in. It's because of the fact of the way this country's gone. We can't agree with each other. I mean, politics alone has gotten so stupid and just ass backwards. I mean, what happened to the whole ideal that this country was designed for the people, by the people, not for the politicians, not for the one percenters, not for the people with money and power and riches and all that stuff. No. It's the American worker, the nurses, the doctors, the fire department, the police officers, the burger flippers, the grocery store clerks, the blue collar workers, basically. We're the backbone of this nation. If the blue collar workers stopped working because of the fact that they didn't like the way that this nation was being run, like they do in France, this country would might as well just open the doors to China, Russia, any of our opponents or those who don't like us to overrun the country, because that's what's happening. That's what's happening. I mean, I remember back in the 70s and 80s where Levi blue jeans were the jeans. They were the only company who were making jeans before Wrangler, at least as far as I can remember. Ford. Motor City, Michigan was a booming town. It had the auto industries, it had the music industry, it had everything you can think of American made. All American made. No foreign parts whatsoever. Not nowadays. You open up the hood of your Ford pickup truck or your Ford vehicle of whatever make model, and I can guarantee you will see parts in there with Asiatic writing, whether it's Chinese or Japanese writing. It's not American made no more. Oh, it might be, you know, we might consider it American made and whatnot because it's a Ford and it's always been American. No. No. Ford uses non-American made parts, electronic parts. My father used to love driving Fords up until we got back from Germany. Now, and then he started going, they're not worth it anymore. They're not, the only reason why we would buy Fords back then until he finally bought a Toyota Camry for mom, then ended up buying a Toyota pickup truck or something like that. It's because the factor, when he was younger, Ford was the vehicle. Nowadays, most of us who have driven other vehicles, we make jokes about Fords. Ford, found on the road dead. Flip, I forgot what it was. Found on the road dead. Fix and repair daily. Yeah, the one that my cousins hated because they're all Ford people, even though that they don't realize they're not American made anymore, is fucked over rebuilt Dodge. Yeah, Dodge Industry took over, outdid Ford. And yeah, Dodge might have, basically any vehicle here in America that we considered at one point in time an American-made vehicle, Ford, Dodge, Chrysler, GMC. We used to be proud of those vehicles because we were like, oh yeah, that was made in America. That was made in America. That was made in America. You open up your hood or open up your fuse box, and you'll notice that on certain electronic components will be some form of Asiatic writing. Yeah. I'm not a mechanic, but I know I know what's under my hood. Thing is, I don't care. The world has gotten so big that we've become more of a united planet because American English is now considered a worldwide language because it's used in most businesses. It's a trade language. It's a language that is used for trade and commerce. Okay. That's nice to know, but the thing is, most countries, like here in America, and I'm not prejudiced or anything like that, because no, I like my people, and I don't mean just my people here in America. I mean people, the world around. You can get on the internet. You can talk to people in China or Japan, and the computer systems will translate their language to our language, and vice versa. Great. We can all get along, can we? Because one reason or another, we Americans have our prejudgmental attitude towards everybody else. If you're not American, we have a problem with you. If you're not doing this, we have a problem with you. Take, for instance, and I'm not being prejudiced or anything like this, I liked the fact that they had somebody to take care of my venue while I was out Tuesday and Thursday. Unfortunately, this young man, who is a foreign student, only had 1 day of basic training. Not enough for him to remember everything. So, Wednesday and Friday when I came back to work, I had realized that this young man did his best. He did a really good job of keeping the place clean and whatnot. Two things I got a little irritated about, but I just kind of went, just clean it, just rearrange it and clean it up, and what I mean by clean it up is we use two different size containers, one tall, one short. Now the short one is used for most of the products except for lettuce, tzatziki, and hummus. Well, I had come in Friday. I don't remember Wednesday, but I came in Friday and he had one of the small ones filled with hummus and one of the tall ones filled with what little leftover crumbled feta. And I just kind of went, okay, maybe the two dishes that he used, even though they were the wrong sizes for the wrong stuff, was what he had left on the sideboard for backup. And the original dishes looked a little too dirty for him, and he removed them and just didn't put the right dish didn't use the right dish for the right thing. No big deal. It took me a minute to change it over, but what kind of really irritated me the most was the fact that I explained to him and even demonstrated to him at the end of the day, whatever's left on the gyro cone, you shave off like you were making gyros and put it in a tin, a metal container, and wrap it to save it for a day when we have enough gyro meat to just reheat it and put it on the side on the warmer instead of on the cooker. What he did both days was he just took the whole cone that was left over, cut it in half, and stick it in a big plastic container that we use for our sauces. And I just kind of got a little frustrated because it's like, was he just trying to get out of there quicker than I do because he didn't want to do it, or he had to go to class because he's a student as well as a part-time worker? I don't know. So what I ended up doing was I ended up taking it out of the plastic container, slicing it up, putting it in a metal thing so I can reheat it for Friday. But I was just kind of like, what did he do? You know? And it was not like I was unappreciative. I was just kind of like confused. It was like, did I not teach him this? Did he forget about this? What happened? So, no big deal. I work with what I got. I mean, I love my job and whatnot. It's just sometimes I get confused by the way people do things. I'm just kind of like, that didn't seem right to me. And I think part of the thing is my venue. I've taken to the factor that I've been doing my venue, and this is not a complaint. This is just an observation. I've been doing the venue by myself since November. I think it was November, October or November. I can't remember how far back, but it was before the holidays, before the new year. And yeah, there are a lot of things that I don't get done myself in a day because of the factor I want to be out of there as quickly as possible to come home so I can watch Jerry, to look after Jerry. But now that Jerry's getting better, I'm not rushing as much. I'm trying to get it all done, all the right things done, because it's what I should have been doing in the long run anyhow. But my primary concern and responsibility is my wife, not my job. I know that kind of sounds bad because it's like, well, how much are you not doing? Well, don't always get everything clean, but I get it looking good. I don't always get a deep scrub, but at least it's passable for an inspection. And I just looked up and realized that this is almost an hour long, so I'm going to quit talking. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. You can give it a thumbs up if you did. Any questions or comments can be placed in the question comment box. I will deal with the comment box as I need to. If you're new to my channel and want to hear more about Norse mythology, or you just happen to be interested in our living situation, whatever your fancy is, you can hit the subscribe button. And once you hit the subscribe button, a little bell will pop up. You click on that, and YouTube will inform you when I put in my next video. So enjoy the rest of your weekend. Hopefully you're not in an area that's going to get dumped on by rain or snow. So hopefully your weekend will be enjoyable. You guys have a good day. Enjoy. Bye.